So once again, welcome to our webinar entitled MCO 3.0, How to Manage Employee Performance and Wellbeing Remotely. Yeah, so I'd just like to go through a few housekeeping notes for everybody. So basically this webinar will be recorded and the recording will be sent to all registrants through email by the week. If you have any questions for our panel, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and our panel will be sure to help answer them for you. Also, we do have a few slides in hand, so if you like the slides at the end of the webinar, please complete the feedback form. You'll be prompted to it once you leave the webinar. And we will also send you a link to the feedback form in our follow-up emails. Yeah, so just fill it up if you would like to receive the slides. And without further ado, I'd like to invite our COO, Chan Chu Hao, to begin the webinar. Thank you, Chua.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone's staying safe and staying at home if possible during this MCO 3.0. I think this MCO has taken us a little bit all by surprise, and kind of set things back a little bit. Let us be kind of reminded us how real this pandemic is, right? How close to things can go wrong so quickly. So I think one of the key things maybe I'd like to kind of touch on today, it's about kind of in this MCO 3.0, you got all this case where suddenly everybody's back to this default arrangement where it's kind of working from home, remote working and all that. So the challenge would be for a lot of organization during this change is that there's a lot of a lot of new changes and new dynamics in the workforce that I think a lot of companies haven't thought of it as much before the pandemic actually started. So let's before kind of give a sense of, let's take a look at what today's workforce kind of looks like. So before I do that, let me give a bit background on myself. First of all, I have been in this industry for about 20 years, and a lot of times spending my last few years actually remote working way before the pandemic actually happened. So, and for us in Just Login, 30% of the workforce was already working from home before COVID-19. And we were already practicing work from home once a month for all employees. One of the key reasons why we look at that is because we were already experimenting with this work from home as a default arrangement, as an arrangement for employees, as a benefit for employees, and we were dealing with some tools to help make this arrangement work. Now, some of the companies that I have worked for or in the satellite setup was like Salesforce. SumTotal is a HR tech company, ClickView, and Mambu. Personally, I've also started 2 internet companies, so in a sense, I'm very familiar with all this work from home arrangement. Maybe I can share with you some insights from my experience working all these multinationals and how these companies actually deal with this arrangement. And yeah, now let's take a look at the current workforce. I think one of the key things that you have to realize in your organization today, all right, is that your organization, first of all, let's start from the workforce they have, is it's going to be a mix of different groups of people that were born in different times, right? Different time frame, right? If you think about it, the baby boomers, okay, you have, first of all, the maturists. Most of them born pre-1945. They are already kind of retired. They're no longer active in the workforce. Then you have the baby boomers, which is usually around 20% of the workforce right now, or it will be probably lesser. But usually they'll be sitting in senior management, or they're still active. If they're still active in a business, that's there won't be a lot of them. So the key thing about baby boomers and senior management, what you've noticed is that a lot of them is dealing, they born in an era where internet was still not around. So they're actually more comfortable with a traditional medium like face-to-face meet and so very rarely they like to do a lot of emails or phone calls, only if it's required. Now let's take a look at next generation, Gen X. Okay, I admit I belong to this generation. Right, we came from an era where internet started to happen. Maybe as we got into the workforce. All right, so when your internet first started, your first tools that you use were things like emails. Right, used to, when you had a computer, it means a PC that sits on your desk with a big chunky monitor and a floppy disk drive, right? And you'll be used to using SMS or emails out to these people. So these are the mediums that you kind of grow up with during your most productive when you first got into the workforce. So you kind of train and grow up in this setup environment. Now, this last group that we're looking at here, which will be about 50% of your workforce now, is what you call the Gen Y and the Gen Z. They're collectively called the millennials, right? If you think about it. They're born around 1981, thereabouts. And during this time, that's when internet was starting to peak. Internet was starting, Amazon was getting very popular in the US, Facebook was coming out, MySpace in the past and so forth. The iPhone came out, everybody was using WhatsApp. So this is the time where the mobile devices and all the internet starting getting very pervasive. Everywhere you will use it, all the apps starting getting very common. So you have to understand that your different groups of employees, your employee base will be a mix of all these different people. But the question back to you is, what is your current management style, right? If your current company structure was set up maybe in the 80s or so forth, a much bigger organization, chances are it was the structures that have in place are probably created by the baby boomers, or even earlier than that, or even the Gen X. So certain structures, certain reporting structures are built around those things. The whole premise that you have your organization set, the definition of a company is that employees will come into work. Now, the thing is that when you have 50% of workforce that came from the Gen Y or Gen Z era, you find that a lot of these systems that you built or created as a company doesn't really work very well for these millennials anymore, right? And one of the key things that you'll realize is that the expectations are very, very different from this group of people. So the challenge for the organization is, how do you deal with this? Now, deep dive a little bit. Let's take a look at what millennials are all about, right? So, as I explained, millennials now comprise about 50% of workforce, and baby boomers are retiring on average. About 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day. Okay, so you if you this is for US statistics. Now the thing is that when you start looking at that fact, and more as your workforce shifts start more than 50% and beyond, you find that the whole incentive structure, the performance measurement structure, and so forth, you will not be able to use that was created back early days, to use that to manage this group of people, because the millennials set the tone. Now your new organization structure needs to cater for this group of people. And one of the key thing here is that the one of the key drivers about millennials is that they don't look at lifetime employment anymore. I mean, if you get a millennial working for you for more than 3 or 4 years, yeah, you can call them lifers, and they work with your company for a long time. So, and one of the key things about driving engagement with these males is that they look at a lot more for career opportunities. They want to grow fast. If your company is not growing as fast as their expectations, then chances are they'll leave before your company can catch there, right? They're looking at performance. They will want performance. They don't like to clock hours. They prefer to look at the company's reputation. How is the company viewed in the social sphere, for example? How is the company being, how is the pay? So pay alone will not drive them. You need to have a combination of all these things. So when you have all these factors come in, managing performance within this group is going to be very different. Retaining them will be very, very different. So therefore, I think the challenge for a lot of organizations is, you have to think about is, which stage of your organization is your company structure designed for this group of people? Let's have a think. Now, what about this group of people? How's their behavior? One of the key things we notice when we look a little bit deeper into the millennials is that, next page, is that you find that millennials spends a lot of time on their mobile devices, right? 2.8 hours a day on their mobile phone, if not more. That's equivalent to one whole day a week on their mobile device. So if the point is that if your systems that you're using today have not does not cater to how they uh, go around their day, chances are you can't engage them. It means you lose a good 1 day of their attention on what you need them to do, right? So therefore, I think one of the key things for a lot of companies is that, okay, you got them all addicted to mobile devices. How do you engage them? This is something that we as a software provider, we have to look at. We have to make sure that our software is actually mobile first, is really mobile friendly, is catered to their the, their expectation, and as well as engage them properly on that. So that kind of brings us to today's content, which is how do you motivate this group of people, and how do you make take care of them during this pandemic and beyond? How do you attract this group? Next. So to sum it up, this workforce that we have today is the workforce that you're going to have today after this pandemic is going to be very different. For a lot of companies, it's also going to be very different, because now that everyone's very used to working from home, one of the key things you'll notice is that, first of all, chances are your company organization is going to be a lot of mix between people who's working from office, people who's working remotely. And you also have to mix, you have to manage between permanent workers, part-time workers, and as well as gig workers, right? The last thing is that you have to think about is this group of workforce they're looking with is going to be more digital savvy. So if you're not engaging them digitally, you're probably losing them. So today's webinar, if you think about it, I have a pleasure of having actually supposed to be two ladies. However, I think Hannah is not able to join us. One lady will not able to join us. But today I've actually have Priscilla Ambrose, founder of Blazer Systems, who is able to join us for today's webinar. And Priscilla, maybe you can do a quick introduction of yourself. We're gonna have a little chit chat. Yeah.
Yep. Hello. Hi.
Yeah. So maybe you can
Happy day,
introduce
everybody.
yourself. Yeah. Give us a little background of yourself.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having me here. I'm very it's an honor to be speaking with you guys today. All right. So I am Priscilla, and I'm the founder of Blazer Systems. What we do is that we are actually a custom software development company, and I personally have about 6 years of ERP experience in the sales space. And in terms of HRMS, I have about 4 to 5 years of implementation experience. So today, when we speak about how do we manage employees' performance and well-being remotely, as per what CH was saying, is that it is about motivation, and it's not just about in terms of payroll. So today I like to just share about a concept that I think we can
Sorry, President, you're a little breaking up. But yeah, let's before we do that, I mean, one of the key things that I was kind of amazed by Priscilla is that she is a millennial, right? And she's a founder of a business, a couple of businesses actually. And I think one of the key things the audience want to know is that, okay, I'm not a millennial, right? I would like to declare that I'm actually a bit earlier than a millennial, right? So for that, I just kind of know it's like your cohort, your age group kind of represents 50% of the workforce today, right? And I want to talk about a little bit more is that given that you're seeing yourself, your friends, and so forth, what do you think drives your peers nowadays? It's like, is it money? What is it that keeps you at your job, keeps you motivated at a job, and keeps you going at the job?
All right. So I wouldn't say money plays the main factor these days, because I mean I'm not sure about the late generation, which is the boomers, but as for us Gen Z, or I mean Gen Y and Z, we value motivation and we value growth. So it's two different things. We no longer chase after salary, but we will. So when we join a company, right? First thing we look forward is that, do we have a career growth in this company? Would we be recognized for our job, or would we have how to say, basically it's all about recognition and affirmation, and most of all a constant motivation. And we are always looking to upscale our skills, because our kind of generation, we don't like to be stuck with our desk at work. We like to have more fun engagements. So if you were to hire a Gen Y or Gen Z, they would rather have a fun working environment. So this is number one. And number two, of course, it will be the pay wise. But in terms of monetary wise, I don't think this is the number one factor that a millennial will join a workforce. Right now, everybody is looking for perks and benefit rather than, the salary wise. So
Yeah, I mean, I realize that among my younger colleagues as well. I mean, they tend to be more like, what is it in for me, right?
yeah,
They tend to ask, what's in it for me? What's my growth
yeah.
potential? Sometimes the problem with a lot of managers, even myself, haven't thought of it, right? So when we kind of design a job scope, we kind of design, okay, you're supposed to do this at this point in time, right? But I'm not gonna think about what's the growth prospect for this job scope, because right now I'm trying to fight a pandemic. But I think that's probably a challenge. There's always, like, the company might not be growing as fast as what you aspire to be, right? Is that one of the reasons why it drove you to start your own business? I mean, you worked for other companies in the
Yes,
past and so forth.
yes. So I used to work for Sage before. And the reason why I decided to embark on a new journey is because, you see, Sage is not a cloud company, and I'm a cloud believer. So I've always envisioned things. I've always envisioned myself being an advocate of a true cloud solution provider. So I tried to spearhead these cloud campaigns and everything, but it didn't work because they still believe in the licensing module, because they feel that it's it's how it should be done, because they are so used to the normal routine, and they are reluctant to change, and they are not well educated enough in terms on the cloud security measures. So they feel threatened when you say that, oh, if it's cloud, what if my data can be seen or read or accessed by other people, you see. So they kind of have this feeling that if I can have if I'm able to see my server, means that my data is safe. So when I tried to spearhead the cloud initiatives, they were quite reluctant, and sad enough that they couldn't grow much. And sadly, they even exited Malaysia last year. So this is why I feel very lucky that I left earlier, so that I was thrown into the SaaS space in 2017 onwards. So when I started to go for cloud events, I even was a part of this zero ecosystem and everything. So that is when I learned that cloud is the future. And then I've actually came out of employment, and I started my own business. And yeah, ever since then there is no looking back on premise solutions anymore.
Yeah, so it's you bring up a very interesting point here. Right? I like the fact. I mean, it just kind of reemphasizes the fact that when you talk about the fact that the company's direction
Yep,
is no longer aligned with your own personal
yep,
ambition and beliefs.
yep,
So it's almost to the point whereby it wasn't pay
yep.
that you were well paid, I suppose. Sage should be
Yes,
a
I
good pay
was
man.
very well paid. I was
Yeah.
very happy with the pay, but I was just too ambitious that money wasn't everything to me.
Mm.
I wanted something more.
Yeah. So I think this just emphasized the point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of employers would be puzzled with this idea. They will use all terms like on the strawberry generation, they
Yeah.
can't take the heat. But I think a lot of things tends to be expectations. If
Yeah.
the company direction is not aligned with the employee's vision of things,
Yeah.
then it's like, so reverse will be true then. I would say if the company's vision was aligned with your vision,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a much bigger belief that you believe that they were doing what they are doing is the right thing, you would have stayed, I would assume.
Yes, I would have stayed and I would have spearheaded the entire cloud department if there was any opportunity. But I tried. But then, they were saying that no, we still believe in the license business because our customers um, feels more confident when they see their license being in their office rather than on the cloud. So I'm like, okay.
Mm.
So this went on for years, and one day I just got really got tired of repeating the same thing, and um, money wasn't my driving factor anymore, because every day when I went to work, the one thing that I was looking forward was, what can I do today? What is the new thing that I can do today? I've always wanted to challenge them, but there was no challenge. So you see, what I'm trying to say is that we young people, or say that we Gen Y and Z, we love challenges. We cannot stay we cannot stay still, because we have been thrown into this era of internet where everything is possible, and we want to try everything that is available there. So if um, employers these days do not give the space of growth to these employees, then I'm afraid that they may lose these guys, and these employees may leave and go out and find their own ventures. Yeah.
Mm. So I mean that's really good. I mean that's a very personal experience of yours. And I think for me it's like I echo that. I generally feel myself too. I mean, my generation before me, the baby boomer generation, they tend to have one job. Like my folks have one job, right? Their whole life, one job. The day they graduate to the day they actually retired, it was exactly the same job.
Right.
For me, in the space of my 20 years career, I have probably switched about 4 or 5 jobs. But I think nowadays the 4 or 5 probably millennials switch jobs probably like in the space of 5 years they switch 5 jobs. So that seems to be the slight difference here. But
Yeah.
that kind of like set the tone, right? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
companies have to adapt because in the past they were used to, okay, I'll hire one person, the next time the person leaves, next time this role will be vacant, will probably be a couple of years from now. But
Mm-hmm.
nowadays it's like if the job is not designed fulfilling enough, what that role would probably be vacant in within 6 months.
Yep.
That seems to be the sense I get. Um, then I mean, one of the key things is like on everybody's mind is this COVID, right? Which created a
Mm-hmm.
situation where you know, employees now have another mix of working remotely as well. So I mean, you have you worked in a remote setup before?
Yes, I have been working on a remote setup since 2018.
Mhm. And
Yep.
and I mean, do you think that that's an impact to your productivity, or would you like to, would you think that working in the office is better versus working remotely, or what is there any difference?
I would say yes, there are a lot of difference, because now, number one, lack of human interaction, and yes, environment plays a very big role. But when I say office, it could be in a traditional startup office or in a fun co-working space. So, like for me, I'm very used to be working in a co-working space, and I won't deny that I really miss working there because of the environment, the network which I have there. And now when I'm stuck at home, it feels very different. It's like I have to force myself to motivate myself every single day that, okay, you know what, it's another day, you can do it. So yeah, it's tough.
Mm. Yeah. So I think the where I come in is that remote, I mean, working is going to be here to stay. Partly
Mhm.
because for some folks, I mean, sometimes even for myself, I find that there are days I want to work remotely. I want to kind of work from home, quiet where I can. Oh, if there are no kids in the house, of course, if it's quiet, I am able to do my work. But on the other hand, I think there'll be days whereby um I want to work in the office, which I could do a lot more collaboration. So I guess it's a mixed, probably not in the sense that all work from office and all work from home all the time, and either
Mhm.
or. So what are the key things? Have you worked with other teams there remotely? I mean, do you have other team members in your company that's working
Yes,
remotely? And how
yes.
do you, can you share with the audience how you manage your team when they're especially working remotely in this kind of case?
Yep. So especially now, we are actually in the midst of developing our own HRMS system, and my tech team is based in India. And we have, although we don't have much of a time difference, but it's about 2.5 hours plus behind us, right? So I find it very difficult because number one, we are always um, on Zoom or some kind of um, internet connection. I mean, we kind of use this kind of tools to communicate, and most of the times, it's hard to actually convey what we want. So yeah, I mean, I find it a bit challenging, but we are somehow managing it
Mhm.
for
And
4 months
any
now.
any tips for the audience?
Yes, what I would highly suggest is that, like, what now we do is that we actually have a we do we do this we use Microsoft Office 365 so that we can actually collaborate online. So if anybody wants to share anything, so we just use Teams, or even when we are using our own iPads, we just share on our keynote to share PowerPoint slides and stuff like that. So it's all about what do you call this, collaboration tools. So in a way, yes, technology is helping us, but still, nothing beats human touch.
Yeah, I think one of the key things about, I mean, this situation is a lot of employees are still very skeptical about remote working, right?
Yes.
Especially now when they talk about MCO, the joke has it is that it's not MCO as a movement control order, but it's actually must come office. So so I think that the main thing here is the employees are still very uncomfortable with remote working. If you don't see the employees, that means they are not working. I don't think that's true. I
Mhm.
think what happens here is that for example in just login ourselves, there's a few
Mhm.
things that kind of help set the momentum. So for us, there's a practice whereby we do a lot of check-ins. We do on average about one check-in a day. So in the morning, we do what they call scrums, right? I believe, I'm not sure, Patricia, Priscilla, you
Yes.
do that. We do scrum calls, like 9 a.m. Everybody calls in exactly to using Teams or, you know,
Whatever. Yeah.
or Zoom, just to at a certain time have it as a recurring invite. Every morning, everybody comes in. What you plan to do today? What you do yesterday, and any issues at hand. And just everybody gather under the room and just talk about it. I think it sets the stage so that there's always this velocity and this momentum with the organization. There's like 9 a.m. Everybody knows what everyone else is doing. That's typically what we found kind of worked. The other thing we have is that, I mean, we book everyone's timing on calendars. We need a conference call, we shoot everyone calendar invites, and just to book out the time. So I think working from home is definitely or working remotely is definitely possible. Managing employees, I think in the end, like, I mean, you heard Priscilla mention, right? I mean, if you have a right motivation, if your company goals are aligned with the employee goals, chances are they will probably work very much harder, and it's
Yes.
sometimes not about pay.
Yep.
Uh, and that's how I see it.
Mhm.
I think one of the key things is Priscilla, you've been looking at this problem about, you're building this HR system, and you're looking at this problem about managing employees through more a dimension rather than just looking at payroll,
Yes.
leave, and
Claims.
attendance.
Yeah. Attendance. Yeah.
Maybe you could tell me a little bit, tell the audience a little bit more about what your view of this is.
Yeah, so I believe that I think not many has spoken or talked about this term called SDS, socio technical systems, which is a very rare term, and it's not something that we all often uh, speak about. Maybe Ivan, if you could just flash the yeah my slide, and then maybe I can just walk through.
Ivan? Ivan, are you still there?
Yeah, sorry. Next one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think what employers of today can do is that I think they can reinvent HR as a whole. So it's no longer about payroll, leaves, and claims. So I feel that is very 2016, 2014 style. So during that era, yes, payroll was a must because of GST and all this compliance thing came into place. But as we become more advanced in the internet era, I feel that companies should focus on four things: structure, technology, and people. So when we speak about structure, we talk about reinventing new HR business processes. It could be as simple as maybe applying for leave, let's say. So back in the days, we all use Excel or even A4 papers, right? But now we have tools like even just login tools. We have leave claims and stuff like that. So or even some companies, they have very unique processes that might suit the younger generation workforce. So this is one of the things that which I feel that today's MNC or even SME employees can look into. In terms of technology, I would highly recommend that employers of today must go cloud. If they want to have young generation employees, these guys, they wouldn't like to use a clunky on-premise system. If you want them to key in anything of their work or any daily routine, I don't think they would be happy enough to use any on-prem system. So this is why a cloud adoption and new technology is also very important. Next thing I would like to emphasize is about people. So back in the days, I feel that most employees don't really put importance on people. So when they hire, all they I think about is that okay, if are you able to do this task, and that's it. But they do not look at the person's um, skills and ability of growth. So what I feel is that they only think of of the present, and they don't give the employees, let's say maybe a 5-year plan, things like that. So I feel instead of doing it manually, employers can now use technology to actually help them to automate this kind of plannings. So this is where you actually help to motivate your employees when you give them a succession planning. So I feel that in every organization, they should be practicing all these three things: structure, technology, and people.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting deck. I mean, where I see this going is that probably a lot of times people, a lot of organizations, especially in the traditional, we tend to look at it more like a hierarchy kind of thing, right? Divisions and heads of departments and so forth. But I think a lot, a lot of systems nowadays, in fact, I think a lot of thinking nowadays, new HR thinking now, they're talking about is employee experience.
Yes.
How is the employees experience? I mean, if you look at new age companies coming in, you got the Googles of the world, provides free lunch, free massages, nap rooms, and on the day one they come in, it's like, they got a fluffy teddy bear sitting on the desk, new MacBooks waiting for them. um, they yeah, and they are able to draw the best talents, and people line up to join these companies. And it puts, sometimes it's like, think about it. I'll give you an opportunity to work at Google. Yeah, I don't mind even going in as a coffee boy, kind of thing. So, and they'll go in and they'll sleep at the desk, they'll work 24 hours. So even though you're paying the employee maybe, let's say, 20% above the market rate, but what you're getting value out of is, first of all, might be a much higher caliber employee, and plus you're probably getting the person, he's contributing twice is what you're paying him in terms of value. So I think that is where, why certain companies move a lot faster than traditional. If they put a bit more emphasis on the on looking at this dimension on how to improve the whole employee experience.
Mhm.
That's I mean, even for us, we feel the same thing. We spend a lot of time looking at employee experience, and that's something that we bake into our system, right? In our app, we were thinking about how does the user experience this. Now we have a mobile app that does AI recognition of a face, of a standard receipts. We have to bake all this into our solution so that employees will find even filing for expense claims. For example, a long time ago, when our previous companies that I work for, it's always a nightmare to file for expense case. It came to a point where you dread that experience. You hated the system so bad that you were like, I don't want to work for this company because they're using that system.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's something you have to think about, I guess.
I think you're right, because I met a few finance managers. They actually quit because the company was using company systems. Like, I don't want to mention names, but I think you have an idea, right? So I was very surprised. Like, they actually quit their jobs because they don't like to use the current accounting system. I'm like, okay. So another thing that I think employers should focus is that invest in your employees, not in terms of monetary, but in terms of, it could be sending your employees for trainings, workshops, or even soft skills training. Not so much relating on the job, but rather, I don't know, something extra. You see, out of the norms.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, the point here is that, I mean, you're talking about taking care of employees, right? I mean, we touch on one
Invest.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you touch on one thing, which is employee wellness.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna interview you as a cohort, right? I mean, in your cohort, for example, what do you think companies nowadays can do to take care of their employees, or at least your peers? What do you expect? What do you hear from your peers about, what their complaints are? What do they think that their companies should be doing for them?
All right. So I have this friend. She just got a job in Beacon Hospital, right? So she comes to me, complaining to me. She said that, I'm paid very well. I said, okay, good. So what's the complaint? No, I'm bored. I said, why? All I do is look at my desk, and that's it. I don't feel that I'm growing here. So what she wants is that she actually wants the company to send her for training, to send her for, maybe it could be as simple as maybe Toastmasters clubs, maybe make her to be a better presenter, or yeah, as simple as that. So what I'm trying to see here is that I really feel that employees should invest in training and development. Yeah. So let's say if the person is in a Marcom's team, maybe the company can sign up for Linda by LinkedIn, send them for courses, or even Coursera. They have tons of free courses there. Encourage employees to sit and attend the course, and when they succeed finishing the course, reward them. Or even when I was in Sage, I actually spearheaded this initiative called Social Campaign, whereby I actually help some of the employees that create their LinkedIn and Twitter profiles. So what I actually worked very closely with the HR. So we actually came up with this simple classes, how to create a LinkedIn profile with a stunning header, description, and stuff like that. So as simple as this, come up with fun kind of courses like this. It will help them to boost their confidence. So even when they leave the company, they feel safe and sure that other employers will hire them. So they don't have to feel at the company's mercy that, oh my God, if I leave this job here, I can never find another job. Give them the sense of security, and that is how you will have their loyalty. The moment you make them feel secure about their job, they will never leave you. But if you don't give them security and you make them feel small in the company, then they don't have the drive to go to work, even though, yeah, the money is great. But if you don't have the drive and the passion, you won't be a high caliber employee. And at the end of the day, it's waste of resource for the employer, and of course it's waste of time for the employee. So it goes both ways. So at the end of the day, I think companies should have this kind of fun initiative, like, okay, let's say this month, who has the highest tweets. So let's say maybe in just login, you get your employees to tweet at least one day something about, it could be anything, and the hashtag just login advice example. Because I used to do this when I was in Sage. So we used to have this thing called Sage Advice. So the person who tweets the most, or the person who posts the most on LinkedIn that month, they get an award. They get maybe they get a certificate award, or maybe they get or maybe their boss buy them lunch or something like that. So I used to get treated every month, something small, nothing, not monetary, but um, non-materialistic, something which is not monetary, and something which is not expensive, and because these employees, they value you if you recognize them. It's not always about money, but it's about recognition.
Yeah, that is definitely something that we see that. I mean, we see that in the marketplace nowadays. I've been HR in tech for almost 10 years. So nowadays, when it comes to learning, there are technologies out there that does what you call just-in-time learning. You're about to maybe operate a new machine. Instead of you sending for a course, sometimes they just-in-time learning. You can like fire up an app on your phone and then attend maybe half an hour of training straight away. After that, you know how to operate this particular machine. So that kind of instantaneous response is out there in a lot of technologies, especially. So I think companies need to start looking into these. I mean, we heard Priscilla was just sharing with us her motivation, and for a lot of them tends to be like, does your company provide the tools for me to do my job well? That's one. Do they look after me by looking after my career growth?
Mm-hmm.
So are they providing the necessary infrastructure for me to grow, right? These are all the necessary tools to kind of like incubate, because it's a knowledge economy nowadays. It's no longer about making widgets. It's about a lot of thinking, about problem solving, and you need a very nimble and agile team. It's not easy. Yeah, but I mean, how else do you think companies can take care of their employees in this new age?
Well, because we are in a work from home situation, maybe we can use fun apps like maybe Kahoot, you know.
Mm,
You have games with your employees online, or even you can still have this initiative online. So let's say you start a campaign. Let's say maybe I don't know. It could be some fun social campaign where you want your employees to talk about. So if the person who tweets the most or posts the most gets something, yeah, it could
mm,
be fun that way.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Definitely. And on top of that, I think there's a lot of interesting developments out in this employee wellness space. For us, for just logging, we're looking at this angle whereby um, there's a financial aspect of it, right? Managing employees' finances, because employers are the big chunk, right? The salaries go into, that they get the salaries from. But sometimes a lot of employees, they need some help in maybe using the buying power of the company to get better insurance, right?
Mm.
Getting better medical benefits from and things like that. These are the probably benefits management will be also a key point
Okay.
in retaining your employees. That's how I feel. um, and I've heard of peers, even my age, she's like, oh, I love working with this company. Benefits are great. For example, I got a colleague who's working for Netflix,
Okay.
and Netflix has a very interesting HR strategy, right? One of the key things is that they say they have scraped all leave management. That means no leave management at all. You can take as many holidays as you like.
Wow.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, but only care about is that you get the job done.
Mm.
And interestingly, no one in the company abuses it.
Hmm.
No one in the company abuses it because it's very simple. They're just also motivated. For them, it's a benefit. It feels like the company trusts me with my time. I need to take off means I need to take off, right? I need to take a holiday means I need to take a holiday, not because I'm entitled to take this holiday. So they actually scrape leave management, and that's one thing. And for them was that even computer allocation, they don't even bother with computer allocation. They put up I think they have a stack of either computers, monitors, or whatever on the desk. Say if you need anything, just go there and get it. Need
Wow.
another monitor, go get it. You need another mouse, go get it. Need another computer, go get it. I think it just comes to a point where, but it creates an environment where welfare is so good, but an attractiveness so good that they're able to attract very high caliber people into the organization.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, when you have highly caliber people in your organization,
Mm-hmm.
one of the key aspects of it is that the employees will kind of manage themselves. They're all self motivators. They will manage the processes themselves. You don't need to build a process for them. They'll manage their own process. So so I think that's where I would say the new companies are starting to realize what motivates employees, right? In this day and age, and what's employee wellness. I think it's turning the books on what used to be given in the past, that's designed by baby boomers, designed by maturists at the early generation. The same systems in the past when people are, going through the Great Depression, going through World War II kind of era. Nowadays, I think the workforce came out a period where it's probably peacetime most of the time, right? And it came out a part where the economy is actually much faster, and actually the job market is actually more competitive now than it was many years
Yeah.
back. Because you think about it, in a couple of years, maybe a couple of decades back, the world population wasn't that many, probably 3 or 4 billion. Now we have 7 billion people. In a couple more decades from now, it's going to hit maybe 10 billion people. So in other words, the world economy is going to get more competitive, and with internet, your competitor is your competitor for employees is not the person who is within maybe your neighborhood. It could be from another state, another country. So we're competing for talent, not locally but globally. So I've heard of many startups nowadays. They're MNCs on day one. Immediately they start. My CTO is from India. Just like Priscilla is case in point. Her developers are in India, but she's based in Malaysia. She's already an MNC on day one.
Wow.
So the way I kind of see this world evolving. So anyway, we're running out of time, and this discussion is this webinar is supposed to be quite keep it open for us to discuss a little bit more about this motivation, employee motivation, as well as employee wellness. And I hope it was a useful session. I'd like to open up to the floor if anybody who is interested to contribute a little bit more or would like to ask some questions. Feel free to post them on the Q&A. No questions? Or maybe Priscilla, I think you have something else to share. You want to share one last one before we go?
Let me just see. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think as I was speaking earlier, right? So this is the bigger picture of HR, and I think this is the future, and this is it. Yeah. So HR is no longer about payroll, leaves, and claim, but instead HR is the bigger picture of employees' um, well-being, skill sets, and even if we were to look at this diagram, let me just expand this. Not sure. Yeah. So what we are trying to build is that I'm actually working very closely with Just Login. So I would like to be their complementary partner where I support them in the aspects of HRMS, whereby we are actually building additional modules to help support employers to manage training, appraisal, onboarding, and even offboarding. Means that see, most of the companies, right, when it's always joy and rosy when you onboard an employee, but what if when the employee is about to leave? That I believe that companies should also send them. I mean, should also offboard them in a nice way, as per how they onboarded them nicely. So I feel that not many companies are actually looking into this, and I hope to make the change. I hope to be um, the um, the future of HR, and this is what I hope to contribute for the um, future employers, which is all of these things: training, appraisal, onboarding, offboarding, business intelligence in terms of HR reportings and analytics, L&D, sourcing, and hiring. So yeah, this is the bigger picture of HR.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely a bigger picture of HR. I think a lot of companies don't realize that HR is actually it's a very small division, but
Yep,
there actually is a lot of things for them to do. So
yep,
be
yep.
nice to HR, I think, for for everybody in the audience. So anyway, we'll run out of time. So with that, I thank you everybody this afternoon that for joining us. I hope it has been a simple, relaxing afternoon for you all to share some ideas and have everybody listening to hopefully pick some pointers, get some insights of what we see in the market, and we hope to speak to you soon sometime.
Right.
If in the future there's any use for our services or with us, and check out our website for more webinars that we will come up. We'll try to come up with more interesting content as well as new content that give a fresh perspective to our audience.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you, Priscilla. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye,
Thank you.
everybody.